In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This week on Simulcast 244, we're talking about iOS 8, Android One, more Chromecast stuff, and I have my own personal cellspot. We'll talk about it all right here on the Simulcast. It is Wednesday, September 17th. I'm Bill Stebbins, and you are listening to Simulcast 244.1. Patrick's here this week. What's up, Patrick?
Not much.
We were having some technical difficulties on the initial launch of this podcast.
Yeah, I blame it on Mac.
That's okay. Just reboot it. It'll work fine.
If not, do it twice.
There you go. So, here we are, podcasting about Apple stuff this week because we got a lot of Apple news.
Literally.
I am, as we speak, installing iOS 8 for the second time on my iPad. And it started out at 3 minutes. Now it's up to 15. I think it's going the wrong way. I'm not quite sure, but...
You mean that whole 5.7 gigs of stuff you need?
Yeah, I deleted quite a few apps just to be able to get it to install, which is kind of silly.
You gotta feel bad for the person who has like that old 4S 8 gig.
Yeah,
it's like just get rid of everything on your phone.
Oh, that's crazy. But hey, whatever. So, Apple had pre-orders on Friday, and thankfully, due to the power of Twitter, I know exactly what all of my friends are pre-ordered for, including their case choices, where they're picking their phones up, what time they're heading up to get in line to get their phones, and
whether their order has been delayed.
That's right. Whether their credit card's been charged, kind of all that stuff.
I mean, I guess the big thing is Apple announced they had over 4 million sales for pre-orders, I should say. But I mean, is it really surprising given the fact that they only come out with a phone once a year?
Well, see, for me it's not, because they're on like a bazillion carriers now. So I would expect that they have more pre-orders. And I mean, 4 million is a hell of a lot of phones. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
This is kind of, and they're selling 2 phones, not just one.
Yep.
On however many carriers. So I mean, that's great. I think it's great that they're selling lots of phones. Competition is good.
And I have a feeling there's a lot of people who refuse to use iPhone, had moved away from iPhones because of screen size, are coming back because of the Plus and even just the 6. Just because that was the deal breaker for them, and with that gone, they can go back to their iPhone.
Yes, and we know a few of those people. I still think that Plus is too big for what it is. It's just those bezels, man. That thing is just. Ugh. Remember when everybody lambasted the Nexus 7 because it had such big bezels? That's what the Plus reminds me of.
Well, I mean, remember what I love our news article, the commercials for Samsung, where they talk about people talking about the Note. It says it looks like you're talking into a piece of toast.
I know a lot of people were saying those ads were stupid. I thought they were hilarious.
I think as I told someone, I said you have to get the whole point. This is basically Samsung throwing it back in the face of all the people that were critical of Android, and specifically Samsung, for too big a screen, or nobody needs this, kind of towing the party line at the time for Apple, and they're just kind of in a humorous way pointing back out to people. Apparently big is okay now, huh?
Yeah, it's like, hey, I grew another hand, so I'm okay. And I guess that's, people always think that I hate iOS and whatever. I don't. What I really just get turned off by is when, say there's a feature that comes to Android, and people that use iOS are always like, oh, nobody wants that. I don't want that. I'd never use that. And then, 2 years later when it comes to Apple, well, Apple had to wait until it was ready for prime time, and they really perfected it. And, well, what about the bigger screen? I thought you couldn't use that one-handed. Well, I don't mind. I'll just use both my hands.
Or use where it'll shrink the screen. Oh, you mean like that thing that was on the Note?
Yeah. So that's where I get frustrated. It's like, okay, you want a feature and it's not available, great. Don't tell everybody how stupid the feature is because Apple doesn't have it yet. Just wait. It'll come eventually.
I can't wait to see what people say when Apple finally goes to wireless charging. I mean, oh, this is great. Da-da-da. Told you.
It's Apple charging.
Well, I mean, I said last week, I think Apple's kind of tipped their hand at where they're going to go with wireless charging, with the watch going with as an extension of their mag charging, which, if you think about it, is wireless charging.
Yeah, it's just a wireless charger with a magnet built in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean like that Nexus 4 charger?
Which is essentially what the LG G Watch has too. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, the Nexus 5 charger, the one that came out, the Nexus 5, the flat one.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, that's a really nice convenience feature, and I don't know why you would not want that, but yeah, whatever, people. Don't hate. But iPhone production isn't sufficient to meet the demand, and there's been rumors going around that the Plus is going to be in really, really short supply.
Yeah, let's just put it this way. My dad ordered a Plus. He ended up having to wait till I got home from work on Friday. So of course he knew he was going to be delayed a little bit anyway. But they haven't even finished processing his order on Sprint. And it's one of those, they're telling people now that order it's going to be at least 4 to 6 weeks before you even ship your phone. So the Plus is basically, they're somewhat still being able to meet some of the 6 demand, but the Plus, it ain't happening. And there's rumors that most stores, even AT&T is telling people 4 to 6 weeks. And this was like people that tried to order like Friday afternoon or during the day Friday, they're suddenly being told, oh yeah, you know that order, you're not getting it for a couple weeks.
I'm going to call it right now. There will be an article on one of the blogs about how the larger screen is not yielding enough quality panels, and that's what's causing the Plus to be delayed.
It's already been done. There was one that said about half of the screens are being rejected.
Because, I mean, why would that be? I mean, Samsung's got screens out the yin yang. Aren't they Samsung screens?
No. I think if I remember correctly, Foxconn is doing all the stuff for the Plus.
Uh-huh.
They're not doing everything for the 6.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, I kind of go back to it. You had one thing to do. You had, 2 phones, but you had a year to get this ready for production. Could you maybe at least get enough for pre-orders to at least remotely be on time? But, I mean, this kind of gives some credence to some of the articles you started seeing like a week or two before the event saying they may not announce the Plus, they may hold off, or the release date may be a month later or something. Well, guess what? It looks like they pre-ordered it for you, and then they're still going to give it to you about a month later.
Right. Yeah, I feel bad for the people that had pre-ordered thinking they were going to get it this coming week or Friday.
Especially if they sold their phone.
Yeah, and then like, oh yeah,
about that.
It's going to be a few more weeks. I would be very upset.
Especially since most of the carriers, they're going to charge you as soon as you pre-order.
Oh yeah.
And so that charge is sitting there, and you have no phone to use.
That would suck.
But a lot of the things are suggesting, some of the carriers apparently are telling, at least these are what some of the stores are telling people, is that Apple, especially like the Plus and stuff, Apple has kind of hoarded most of their initial stock for their stores and kind of leaving the carriers out in the wind.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like if you haven't already gotten confirmation of your order, in the pipeline and you're going to get it Friday, you're going to have to go stand in line if you really want one.
And they're saying the Plus, you can forget about it because most of the carriers and even Apple, or for the most part, have said that they're going to honor the pre-orders before they let anybody buy it in the store because they're so far behind. That tells you how far behind they are in production. So if you want a Plus, you may be standing in line for nothing.
You hear that, Clay? Just buy the 4.7 and be happy. iOS 8, which is still downloading on my iPad too for the second time, is huge update, and takes mine needed 5.4, but I know some needed 5.6 or 7 gigabytes of free space, which is a hell of a lot of space on a 16 gig device, or even if you got a 4S with 8 gigs. Oh my god, can you imagine?
Consider that's about all of the memory on the device, because you don't even get the full 8 gigs or the full 16.
That's just bizarre. It's like a 1.4 gigabyte update on this iPad. Crazy.
Hopefully, the thing I'm hoping is, and I haven't seen it yet because I have no iOS devices right now. I'm curious if it, after it needs that free space, does it free it up after the install? Because if not, that's gonna really suck.
Yeah. Be like, interesting. So, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm interested to hear people's opinions on it. I know a lot of the reviews went live, and I didn't really read a whole lot of them because I'm not jaded by the whole thing, but I just don't trust the reviews.
Yeah, I mean, what happens? The problem I find with some of these reviews, especially like with updates like this, you may have actually individually had a problem with your update, where someone else doesn't for whatever reason, and so they have a really negative view of it, and you may have a perfectly positive one.
That plus, I feel like with Apple stuff, a lot of the blogs seem to be scared of pointing out issues or problems simply because they don't want to get gizmodoed. They don't want to be, banned from any of the events for future events if they say something negative. I mean, that happens.
Chris, I guess the question is, if you're going to get banned for telling the truth, do you really want to go in the future?
Yes, they do. I mean, especially some of these Apple-only blogs. I mean, that's their whole bag. So
it should make you question your career choices.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, but hey, whatever. All right, so we're looking forward to hearing people's opinions on the new iPhones and iOS 8. I can't imagine that iOS 8 is going to look much different on my iPad than iOS 7.
I think the big feature I was looking forward to is the one that they pushed back to beta at the last second, was the one for the photos with the iCloud Drive, to basically so you would kind of not really need as big a device if most of your storage is pictures and videos that you take, because it would have automatically you could have had an option to automatically save those to the cloud, and now they pulled that back because it wasn't ready out of the master right before it. So I'm curious to see if that to some degree was still released, or if it'll be soon. Because right. To me, that was the biggest feature I was looking forward to.
Wow. All right, well, send us your thoughts and opinions on the Apple stuff. Did you get an iPhone? Are you getting one on Friday? Is it the best thing since the Note 4? Let me know. Android One was announced for India yesterday or the day before. And if you're not familiar with Android One, it is basically a project from Google to bring low-cost smartphones to the next 5 billion people. And India has a huge market to tap into for smartphones. The majority of people there do not have smartphones because phones are prohibitively expensive, as well as cell plans and data and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that I need one of these phones. I don't want something low end, but I think that they're going in the right direction, and that's kind of a noble thing. I mean, providing the capability of somebody to get a phone that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get.
Well, the other thing is, if it's one that the specs are decent enough, even if it is really low end, at a low price, if it's something you could get here, it would also help as a nice emergency phone with an off-contract price to kind of get you through, so that you're not sans phone without having to fork over a ton of money before your contract's up.
Yeah.
Or it would also be a good, like a gap phone, like if you sold your iPhone and then you found out your new phone is delayed, you'd at least have something to kind of carry you over and without breaking your bank.
Like a Moto G?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting because these devices, they are dual SIM, which is common overseas, but they also have micro SD cards, which I guess is a way to reduce the cost and still provide the amount of storage they need, because the cloud isn't so ubiquitous everywhere there.
And I'm sure data is way expensive.
Right, so they'll want to really cache a lot of stuff before they go out or whatever. It's pretty interesting.
The other thing I'm looking forward to is that these phones are supposed to be like the Nexus line and the Play editions. Google's going to handle the updates directly.
Yes, I do like that. I like that a lot. One of the other things we've been kind of following on the podcast is Android Silver, which is not Android One. Android Silver was reportedly going to be a replacement for the Nexus program. That is now on hold, Patrick.
Yes. And supposedly some of the rumors are that they were having trouble with getting buy-in from all the other ones. Surprise, surprise. I mean, if I had to take a guess, probably the biggest one is the carriers, because they fought back, and then the manufacturers, because they wouldn't have to commit to getting more updates and allowing more features and things for consistency's sake, things that Verizon loves to screw you over on.
Yeah, and plus the guy that was supposedly in charge of it has left. We don't know if the program is also on hold because he left, or if he left because the program is on hold. I don't even know what his name was, because I'd never heard of the dude before, but he's out of there. So what kind of, I mean, I can't say that I'm upset over that. I don't want the Nexus program to be scrapped or revamped in a way that it impacts the devices that I can get. So we'll see. I'm sure that story will kind of develop over the next. We're due for a Nexus device in about.
I think the thing for me though, yes, I like the Nexus devices, but I think Silver would have been more of what I think what Google wanted in the first place. Was instead of them making the phone, they would get more carriers to offer. I mean, not more carriers, more manufacturers to offer a device that was pure Google. And so you'd have, instead of having a single Nexus device, you'd essentially have one from all the major carriers would have one that's part of the Silver line, and they would all be pure Google experiences without any of the other stuff overlaid, which is you still have some with the Google Play editions, but essentially to have where you could go out there and get a pure Google device. I think the problem is until Sprint and Verizon get rid of CDMA, it's always going to be half-baked because they'll use the CDMA as an excuse not to support a device.
Yeah.
Because they'll have some feature they don't want you to have, and so they won't offer it.
Yeah, we're still probably a good year and a half out before we get rid of CDMA and just...
probably more than that, just because some of the news, not to get too far down their show notes, with Verizon, they're touting the fact that they have a solid 3G network has kept them from really needing some of the newer features of like Wi-Fi calling and stuff. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of a scary thought that they think so highly of their 3G network that they're using it to avoid progressing.
Yeah, that's true. Something that we had talked about that I was excited about because I'm one of the few OnePlus owners is StyleSwap. The rear covers for these things, I was going to replace the sandstone back with the bamboo. They just announced, first they announced that it was coming this month, and then that date is almost upon us. They have now announced that they are no longer going to be doing that project because they could not guarantee or get enough quality pieces, covers, and the process to replace the back is a little too tedious for most people, and you run the risk of breaking your phone.
Although the only silver lining in all that was they said, but we're gonna try again for when the OnePlus 2 comes out.
Yeah, but if they should be far enough down the road now to be able to get rid of their invite system, which is still terrible, and have some more accessories. And unfortunately, they don't have that. So
yeah, that's not a good sign when you get rid of something when you haven't even fully opened it out to the public yet. You've given up on it already.
Right. I mean, at
That's
least
like saying we're ready to move on, but wait a minute, you haven't even opened this one up for everybody to buy.
yeah, and I would imagine the OnePlus 2 is not going to be a very it's not going to be the same deal that the OnePlus One is. It's going to be closer to the MotoX pricing.
Let's assume you get an invite to get it.
Yep.
Jeez.
So we'll see. I mean, I guess it's not the end of the world. I always wanted a phone with a wood back. The Moto X looks compelling, but I can't use that phone. The camera is just atrocious. It's better on the new one supposedly, but still not. I guess I'll jump to the Moto X stuff. The 2014 is available for pre-order now, Patrick, and I didn't pre-order one because even though it's probably as close to a Nexus experience as you can get, the battery life isn't all that great. The camera's not all that great. I guess that's part of the Nexus experience, isn't it? But they made the phone bigger physically with a bigger screen, and I just don't know why you wouldn't buy the G3 or the M8 or the S5 if you're going to get a phone that big. Why would you go for the Moto X?
You got me on that one. I mean, and I guess my big thing is I haven't really been that interested in it, just because if I were going to get a brand new phone, I'd like to put it on my primary Verizon line, and they lock down the crap out of everything, and so if it's a good phone, you probably can't get it.
Yeah.
For like the Moto X stuff, like they said, you're not getting the Pure Edition stuff. You're not getting that a developer edition for us. And I'm like, okay, next.
Yep.
Of course, that's one of the reasons why I said I've actually contemplated after Christmas or so maybe getting an iPhone to play around with, but put it on my Verizon, because then that single phone would actually be able to switch back and forth between T-Mobile and Verizon because it's unlocked. If I'm going to have to pay something off contract, and then pick up like a Nexus or something as the other phone.
The other woman.
Yes, because my thing is I refuse to spend a lot of money for the one for my T-Mobile line, since it's my secondary line that's just month to month. And so I'm like, at least now if I got one, I could switch my Note 3 over to the T-Mobile and have HSPA Plus. Even though it wouldn't do LTE, it'd still do HSPA Plus, and it would work perfectly otherwise.
I'm with you. Sorry, checking in on my kids to see what the heck they're doing. My wife is out at a play tonight, and so they're upstairs doing God knows what. I had to check the cameras, make sure they weren't hanging from the ceiling fan.
Or hanging the dogs from the ceiling fan.
Yeah. So my wife needs a new phone, and I'm not sure. She's got a Note 2 right now, and I don't know what to get her. I really kind of want to just switch us off of Verizon, but she's got an unlimited plans, as do I.
Yeah. At least in your case, you can use it with your Nexus 7.
Yep. Which is what I'm doing. It's a perfect hotspot. Oh, and did we talk about the Google Voice stuff last week? The Google Voice and Hangouts merging?
I think we mentioned it some, but at that time, remember, they had pulled back. They didn't reset it up for everybody to do it until the end of the week.
The bigger news, which I didn't realize, is the Obihai is working with Google Voice again. I
got an email from that, and I'm starting going, wait a minute, is this like an old email they just resent? Because I don't remember hearing anything about this, but apparently this thing is now useful again.
And you know the bizarre thing? Apparently it never stopped working, and I went ahead and preemptively paid for an Anvio plan so that I didn't have to worry about it. And people are like, "Yeah, mine just kept working, and now it's officially official again."
So all of the Obihai will work, right? Because I know the email I got was showing the Obihai 200.
That I ordered one of those for my mom, so I assume that will still work. Yes, there's a firmware update to enable it again.
Okay. Because I've still got a 100, so I'm assuming it will work as well.
Yes, it should. I have a 110, and my daughter's got a 100, and hers works, and mine works. So,
just in time to try to get my phone back from my cordless phone back from my sister, because I had given it up. I was like, I don't need it anymore. So here, take this.
Yeah. But one neat trick is if you have multiple lines in the Hangouts app, like if you have two different Google Voice numbers, like I have a Google Voice number that's my home number and then one that's my cell number, you can actually have them both ring your phone through the Hangouts app, and it will show you which number it's coming from. And you can also make calls as like I can make calls from my home number on my cell phone. So when you switch accounts on the Hangouts app, you can make a phone call depending on which account you're under from that Google Voice number, which is pretty awesome.
Good to know.
Yes.
Might be going to buy a new cordless phone this weekend for home.
Yep. But yeah, so my mom's going to be back in her house in the next couple of weeks, so I got her an Obihai 200, and I'm going to go ahead and port her home number over to T-Mobile and then port it over to Google Voice and set her up on the Obihai because
that way she can pick it up no matter where she's at.
Yeah, I'll just be like, we'll forward it to your cell phone, and you know if you want to talk on it when you're at home, great. It doesn't cost you any money, but you can also get it on your cell phone because that's kind of what she's been doing right now. As people call the home number, and I don't know if she's got it forwarded or what, because you know, for a while there was no home to forward the phone from. So,
yeah. Well, the other thing I like, well, for one, that's good because then people can't call to see if you're home or not, and test it by not getting it. You can actually pick it up. But the other thing is with Google Voice, I always liked is the fact that you can set up circles for certain people, and have a customized voicemail for them.
Yeah, that's a cool feature.
I always remember the first time my mom called me and got a voicemail. She goes, "I thought you were screwing with me." She goes, "Because it was like, hey mom, da da da." She's like, "How the hell would you know that if that was just your voicemail?" I said, "Oh, it's because I set it up. It knew it was you calling."
That's funny. So yeah, if you there used to be, well, it's not on my blog anymore. I had to get rid of it, but I used to have a really nice article about porting your home number over to Google Voice and all that stuff. I can probably dig it out if you need it, but the Obihai router is VoIP router, and it's pretty sweet. So I got one for $30.
I think I paid $20 for mine. It was on sale on Amazon at one point.
There you go. All right, so we teased some Chromecast updates at the beginning of the show, and we have a few. Slingplayer finally gets Chromecast support. And I don't think I've seen the update yet, but I'm anxiously awaiting the update. Let me see if I
Supposedly, if you close the app and reopen it, it's supposed to be there when you connect.
Oh, so they did it on their side?
Apparently.
Interesting.
I wouldn't know, as you'll find out later.
Yes.
Bastards.
Darn it. Oh, there it was, yeah. Let's see here. It shows up as a little...
There's a little cast button.
Yeah. Okay. So Slingplayer for Chromecast is going to be fantastic for me because I have Chromecasts all over the house, and sometimes I just want to be able to watch something from one of my Xbox Media Center things that, or I guess it's Windows Media Center on Xbox. Now I can like send it to the garage or whatever, and I don't have to have an actual physical box there, just a Chromecast.
Well, the other thing I thought about, two things where I thought this could be amazing. One, if you get like a little pocket travel router, or if you, like in your case where you're using the Nexus 7 as your hotspot, you can essentially take a Chromecast with you, plug it into TV at a motel, hook it up and start watching your home cable or home satellite, your recorded shows, whatever, and it doesn't matter what offerings that hotel has, you basically have your TV with you wherever you go. The other thing I thought would be cool, because down here, especially with football being such a huge deal, people at tailgates actually go and get multiple satellite dishes and set up so they can watch several games and whatnot, as part of their tailgates. Shoot, with this, you don't need the satellite and all that stuff. All you need is a Chromecast, a couple, just one person acting as a hotspot, and if you have a couple of different Sling boxes set up, like if you have like your tailgate crew each has a Sling box at home, boom, you can put up whatever you want and no need for satellite or anything else.
That is sweet. Watch Disney and Twitch and iHeartRadio also got Chromecast support, so kids around the world are going to be thrilled at the Disney apps.
And it's all three of the Disney apps, too. The Watch Disney, Disney Junior, and XD.
Awesome. And then
you don't have to worry about your kids screaming because there's no Disney Channel when you're stuck in a hotel on a trip.
Exactly. So I always love when we get more Chromecast support. I mean, that's just becoming like the Swiss Army of, what do I want to watch? And for us that use Nexus devices, the fallback is, well, I'll just cast my screen.
But you kill your battery, so
yeah.
At least this way you can put it back in standby mode.
Well, I ran into that over the weekend, I guess. I was going to watch some UFC, which was only available on Fight Pass, and they don't have Chromecast support yet. I just did my Chromecast from my screen right to the Chromecast and was able to watch it on my bigger TV, no problem. I mean, it's still not ideal, like you said, it kills your battery, but with my tablet, I didn't care.
Yeah, especially if you have like a nice Qi charger sitting next to it. Then.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be in the same room. You just go plug it in somewhere and leave the screen on, and there you go. Okay, Microsoft OneNote is now on AndroidWear, and I don't know why you would use OneNote. I mean, is it like Keep?
Similar, but you can use it, especially if you're a person. One of the things I always liked OneNote for, and I can see this being big for students, because OneNote was really good for organizing classes just by the way it did folders and then did tabs and then also break it down by date, so each day, each class could be its own page. And I also liked it because with the collaboration stuff, if you set it up, you could actually have multiple people, kind of like you can do with Google Docs. But what was cool about OneNote is you could pull anything into it. If someone had PowerPoint slides, you pull it in there. You record audio, you can put audio in there. You can type, you can put drawings, all that stuff. It was like a big blank slate, kind of like Evernote before Evernote. And what's good about this is you can actually use it, and it's unlike Evernote, you don't have to pay for this. With OneNote, you can sit there, tap on your watch, and say, add a note, record a note, or do whatever, or it'll organize it for you. So it's kind of like a freer version of Evernote in a sense.
Gotcha.
It's also nice just to see that Microsoft is kind of taking the Google approach and making sure they really support other platforms.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have OneNote at work, and I don't know, it just seems kind of clunky. But I guess, having the choice is nice.
Well, the big thing with OneNote, it takes a lot of initial setup to kind of get it organized, but once you do, it's nicer. At least on the desktop.
Gotcha. Let's see. The Samsung Note 4, which is Quad HD, has been named the best smartphone screen to date by some company that measures smartphone stuff.
And then all they had to do was look at the resolution and go, yeah, obviously, no one else has anything close.
Yeah, so
it's better than almost everybody's TV, unless they have 4K.
That is crazy that we have a smartphone that has a 4K, 4K screen or whatever. Well, it's not a 4K.
It's 2.5, I think, or something like that K.
Yeah, but still, that's crazy. I mean,
it's better than any non-4K TV out there.
It is the resolution of this 27, 28-inch monitor I have in front of me. the same resolution on a phone. That's ridiculous. Okay, so we had a little bit of gaming news this week. I finally got my copy of Destiny. I complained about Adele last week and ended up canceling because they told me it was going to be a month. And then I reordered on Friday when I was assured that I would get it in a few days, and I actually got it Monday or Tuesday. And
Have you played it yet?
No, it's still in the wrapper.
I was going to ask, is it any good? I've been debating on buying it. Like, I want to find out, is it really worth it? Because I know some people, I've seen some where people are like, critics don't like it, but me and my friends do.
Yeah, if it's a lot like Halo, then I'll like it no matter what. But yeah. I keep reading about people doing raids on, and I'm just like, Leroy Jenkins. That's all I can think of when somebody says they're going to do a raid.
I love it.
I'm just like, whatever. I'll get around to it. I've got a weekend, or part of a weekend, where my wife and kids are going to be gone this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get all my car repair stuff done this weekend without something falling and killing me, then I'm going to play video games.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yep. Microsoft bought Minecraft. What is it? Mojang or something? What's the name of the company?
Oh, I forget.
Yeah. Whoever makes Minecraft, they bought them for like $2 billion. And the dude that...
Mojang or something. I don't know how they pronounce it. But.
Yeah. The dude that made the game quit, left, whatever, took his $2 billion. And well, that's pretty amazing that a game like Minecraft is that big, and you do just $2 billion. He'd never have to do a thing again. His kids would never have to do a thing again, ever. Well, he's not going to have kids. He's a big dork.
Yeah, $2.5 billion with a B.
With a B. You could buy your own island.
Hey, you could buy your own country. Shoot, with $2.5 billion, you could probably build your own island.
That's true. You could build your own island out of ET cartridges.
And make it look like Minecraft.
Oh.
But that just goes to show you never know. Some little idea, if you put a little effort behind it, you might be a billionaire one day too.
That's it. Well, I'm on my way to being a billionaire because I got a T-Mobile personal cell spot for free. For free. That means I get free T-Mobile coverage in the basement. Except I don't even have a phone that supports Wi-Fi calling on T-Mobile right now. But I read about this new router that they're giving out, and it's basically an Asus 68U, which is a $200 router. And I can't remember if I got the 66 or the 68 in my closet already. But I figured I could swap it out and maybe give my other one to my mom, because she's going to need one.
So let me check you on this. You said you have free Wi-Fi calling in your basement. Isn't it more accurate to say you now have T-Mobile coverage in your basement?
I actually have service down here. I have no bars. Well, one bar.
Is it like
I get pretty good coverage. But, I mean, really, if I want to make a call down here anyway, I would just use Hangout.
Yeah.
Through my Wi-Fi anyway.
No, I was joking with my brother-in-law about it because he got it. Apparently, there's a Note 3 update for Sprint, and he's like, "Check yours." I was like, "I have Verizon. Trust me, it ain't gonna come out for a couple weeks." But I told him, I said, "You might want to check. You might now have voice over LTE support and Wi-Fi calling." He goes, "I've been having Wi-Fi calling. It's called Hangouts."
Now, one thing: if you are a T-Mobile customer, until the 23rd, I think, if you call up and just tell them you want to get a personal cell spot, they will send it to you for free. You don't have to pay a deposit or anything. Now, this is a $200 router.
Yeah, because I think they were saying it was a $25 deposit, but it was refundable originally.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, right now they've got it going on where you don't have to pay anything. They waive the $25 fee.
That's nice.
And even if you're not a T-Mobile customer and you just want to get this router, you can pay $99 for it, and they will sell it to you. which
See,
is
I could see that being really good, especially like businesses. Set that up as a side thing.
yeah. So it is it's a fantastic router. It's got a little bit of T-Mobile firmware stuff in it, but I figured for free, how could I go wrong? I think I've got to turn it back in if I cancel my service, but
That's not happening anytime soon.
yeah, it's a free router. Come on, people.
I think the router would die before you get rid of your service. So
Yeah, and maybe, just maybe, I will have a phone at some point that supports Wi-Fi calling on T-Mobile.
you have to figure the next Nexus device will.
Yeah, I was gonna say, supposedly the Nexus 6 does support Wi-Fi calling, and probably it's baked into Android L, I would guess.
Well, and as we talked about last week, part of their new push from T-Mobile is to try to update all future phones to support Wi-Fi calling.
Yes.
If it's capable potentially of doing it, they're going to try to work to get it doing it.
Yeah, and so AT&T and Verizon both weighed in on Wi-Fi calling. AT&T won't do it till next year, and Verizon expects it in mid-2015. And
yeah, and Verizon's CEO was basically saying, we didn't see it as an important thing. We had more important things because we figure with our robust CDMA 3G backbone, we don't see a need for it. And I'm thinking, it's called getting rid of CDMA. That's the whole purpose of this. You're behind the game. At least AT&T and T-Mobile have HSPA Plus to fall back to.
yes, I agree with that. So, in a couple more years, we're going to be on voice over LTE, and LTE will just be ubiquitous, hopefully everywhere. And
Well, I mean, even Sprint has been proactive in that sense because they went out with 3 bands of LTE from the get-go to try to eventually move to doing that.
Yep. Okay, people, we're on Google+. Google.com/plus the Simulcast. We are on Twitter @the Simulcast. Podcast @thesimulcast.com is our email address, or you can leave us a voicemail at 203-903-CAST. And we are moving to Casting Couch, and I have actually started to watch Houdini, which was a 2-night mini-series thing about the life of Harry Houdini. I made it. Yeah, it was good. Made it through the first night. It's kind of a cliffhanger, and then the next night we tried to watch, and my wife made it through 5 minutes and fell asleep. And that is not a commentary on the show. That is a commentary on the fact that my wife gets up at like 5 in the morning. She's a teacher, so.
And the sad commentary that Bill feels guilty to try to keep watching it, so he has to wait.
Yeah, I mean, there's shows that I'll go ahead and I finished up Orange is the New Black without her, and she didn't really care, but this one she wanted to see, and it's only like a couple hours that I gotta figure out how to keep her awake. So, I'm 2 episodes in on Sons of Anarchy. My Tuesday nights are exciting again, and I cannot wait to see what happens at the end of this season. It's gonna be amazing.
Woohoo!
And then finally, The Ultimate Fighter. Really, really enjoying it this season. It's a bunch of women, and they're not just like amateur women. These are, a lot of women from, I think it's in Invicta fighting, and they could kick my ass, no doubt. So they don't put up with any crap. It's awesome. What about you this week, Patrick?
I finally watched the movie Neighbors with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne. It's funny. Of course, I didn't have to pay to watch it, so that always makes anything slightly funnier because you're not paying the movie price to go watch it.
Was it showboxed?
Maybe. And of course, my big thing is most of my shows start back next week, and so I've been cleaning off the DVR, not necessarily watching stuff, just deciding I didn't watch it for a reason, so it needs to go so I can make room for more shows. In fact, I found out apparently if I plug in a FireWire-based hard drive to my DVR, apparently it will co-opt that drive and give me more space. So I may be working that over this weekend so I can have even more space to store.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got the Motorola one. Several cable companies have now. It's the one that can record like 6 shows at once.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, it supports through the FireWire port an external drive for extra space. What it does is it recognizes it and formats it to whatever the proprietary format they use, so that it protects the files. But I don't care. I just want more storage.
Gotcha.
I think it's got like 500 gigs of storage or a terabyte, but that can eat up really quick when you're watching in HD.
No kidding. All right. Well, my pick of this week, I have finally settled in on this Moto 360. It is fan-freaking-tastic. I love it. It is, let's see, 48%. It's been off the phone since 7:30 this morning, so that's 14 hours I've already had. So that's plenty. I mean, I normally would have already taken it off, but since I was podcasting, I was going to show it off. I did change out the band. I put the Pebble Steel band on here, and it's nice.
And it's a lot cheaper than the one Motorola wants to sell you too.
Yeah, it's $20 from Amazon. So there was that. We're getting a lot of compliments on the watch. It looks like a regular watch, which is, part of the allure. It's fantastic having the ambient light sensor so that I don't have to adjust the screen and when I go outside or whatever. Just a great all-around device. It's got a couple little, we talked about the processor being an old processor and stuff like that. This thing doesn't, there's not a lot of heavy lifting in the software, so I can't imagine they can't. A couple of the little frame drops and stuff, I can't imagine they can't work those out.
My only thing I can think of is that they must have got these at a dirt bargain price, because the last thing we had heard, TI had stopped making mobile processors.
Right.
So they must have just bought these like at an auction or something.
Yep. What's your pick this week?
I actually have an anti-pick.
Yes.
Which, kind of what we talked about earlier, the Slingplayer Chromecast support. The thing that kind of pissed off a lot of people, including me, is they decided they weren't going to support the Solo or the Pro HD, which for a lot of, and I'm okay if they're not going to do the Solo, I can understand, but one of the things that really got on other people's problem was the Pro HD, which is still being sold in certain parts of the world. In fact, as of like last year, that was one of the only options people still had, like in the UK. I was reading some of the people that were complaining. And it's still the only option if you have a cable box that has coax. That's the only box you can use if you want Slingbox. And so apparently they just decided they're not going to support them. And so that's why I was joking with you. It's got to be on their end, because when I did it, got no Chromecast whatsoever when I connected to my device. So it looks like I'll have to be looking to upgrade if I want to use it.
Yep.
So my Solo may be going to someone else.
Yeah, I have a Solo sitting in the closet that I don't know. I was holding on to it. I may share it with my sister or something, but yeah. I mean, I understand, they've got to move on with technology and maybe the hardware doesn't support it, but it seems like they do that quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like I can understand it originally came out years ago, but it's not like it's something they stopped selling years ago.
Right.
And if they're really, it looks like they're doing it more on their end, there shouldn't be a reason why the app pulling from it, if it's going through their service, wouldn't be able to Chromecast just like any other one.
Yep.
But that's okay, because I can cast screen.
Where can everybody find you when you are not casting your screen?
You can find me on Twitter, handle LSULaw2009. You can find me on Google+, look for my name, or you go to plus.technicallylegal.net. And you can, of course, always email me at patrick@thesimulcast.com.
Okay, and I am Bill Stebbins on Twitter. BillStebbins.com. That's where all my stuff is. That'll take you right to my social media contact information. So, Patrick, that's going to do it for Simulcast 244.1. And looking forward to next week hearing all about everyone's iPhones. hopefully we'll have some other cool stuff that happens between now and then.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with us on the .1 thingy, and we'll see you.
Later, guys.
Good night.